Right, guys, my problems with reincarnation. Now, my name's Anthony Cummins, and I'm going to add this to the my problems with Buddhism, but I'm going to start changing the names of the playlist. But basically, I'm going to ask you now get your genuine thoughts on reincarnation. So I'm the author of this, which is the book of Bushido. But if you're into reincarnation stuff like this, you might be interested in the Ultimate Guide to Yin Yang. So get yourself a copy of Bushido or the Yin Yang one by Anthony Cummins, and help support this channel. Right, okay. So personally, if I was to look at all of the different afterlife ideas, I would think reincarnation would be my favorite one. Or I would say it's the most plausible reason for human existence, or the most plausible idea behind the workings of human existence. I genuinely do. Of all of them, I think reincarnation is the best. And as far as I'm aware, it's not even an Eastern thing originally. It is a sort of middle of the road. It started, or there's evidence for it, if anybody knows where this evidence is, in the Caucasian mountains, didn't it? When you get the Aryan race going this way and the Proto-Indo-Europeans coming this way, and they end up going into, and they mix with the 3 DNA groups in India. So you get this Proto-Indo-Europeans coming in with the 2 DNA groups, and the 3 DNA groups mix, and you start to get this idea of, pre-Buddhism, but Buddhism develops from them. This idea of reincarnation is from before Buddhism. Of course, Buddhism comes with, the Buddha. They imply that Buddhism has always been there, but it's named Buddhism because, it's done by the Buddha. But the idea is that the teachers have been there from the ancient masters, and those ancient masters was that meeting between East and West in the middle there. So reincarnation is not necessarily an Eastern thing. So, but my two main issues are this. The first one is, and I don't understand the Buddhist teaching or where the Buddhist teaching comes from. If anybody can help me, please do. Is that Buddhists, or a certain sect of Buddhists, or a certain portion of the Buddhist community, do not believe that there is a soul, or that there is a single identity, and they talk about, sometimes quite complexly, about the different wavelengths, the different elements, and the different integrations so the idea is you don't come back as you're not you 5 minutes ago, and all that sort of stuff, you know what I mean? Where it gets, to me, it gets a little bit silly, because you're like, the experience, I am, so, I think so, therefore I am. I'm very much a believer of that. It's not like you don't exist, well, all right, then just shoot me in the head, or I won't pay my mortgage next month, you know what I mean? You do exist, you're there. So, and even if we are a fake, what's the word? Matrix, whatever you want to call it, computer simulation, we're still real to ourselves. So we are real in ourselves. So if there is an afterlife, I would say reincarnation is one of the major, or the best options for logical, why there is, the logical approach to human existence. But how does Buddhism get rid of this idea that you are not a single entity? You're not you're not the inner you break up and do XYZ. So somebody explain that to me, where you are different parts and you go back to whatever, but then you come back and karma, and deal with reincarnation, the karma that you bring back. And you're like, how can I come back as a reincarnation if I am not a single entity, and I'm a division of lots of things that break up and go away? So, which again, Taoism sometimes talks of that. There is in the same problem in Taoism I've come across, and I did that in the Ultimate Yin Yang it was, and the Taoist thing where it says some people go back, and it doesn't say reincarnation, but it rejoin the Tao. Other people disintegrate into this. Some ghosts stay on the the realm. So Taoists and Buddhists have a very similar idea, and don't really logically play out, is that you are a single entity, you come back reincarnated time after time after time until you have learnt your lessons, which is the general idea of reincarnation. Please, Buddhist, is that agreeable or not agreeable? But then there's also the idea that you may break up into something else, or you may go back to the Tao in different parts and not come back as a human. It's very, very contradictory. How can we explain? First of all, can we break those bits down, and how can we explain it? Right, okay, so that's my major issue with reincarnation. The other one is that reincarnation goes along with karma. Did I say dharma before, or karma? Sorry, karma, if I said it wrong. So basically, it goes along with karma, and the idea is that you have to learn. Let's be truthful. Buddhism is basically, and correctly, I assume, you come round time and time again, so you learn, and you have an awakening, and you're like, I get it, and then you go, you leave the karmic circle. I know some people disagree and say Buddha's still being reincarnated, but I really disagree with that. The idea is that you extinguish this nirvana, but some people think nirvana is a state of mind. I really don't like the nirvana as a state of mind thing. Nirvana to me is not a place, or whether it is... See, this people say, oh, is it a place, not a place? Outside of time and space. So the idea of samsara is you're in this reoccurring role of time and space. When you leave it, you're outside of time and space. So people say, was it a place, is it not a place? That argument is the same in physics. Beyond the Big Bang, is it a time, is it a place? Is there time, is there a place, is there direction? It's beyond our comprehension. So you are extinguished from the circle of time and dimension, okay? But how, for all we know of science, in the billions of years and the hundreds of millions possibly years, English and American billions, we all say the same billions now, but it's weird because 1,000 million, anyway, it used to be a different, but it's so complicated now to say the timelines. But basically, for lots of years, life has existed, but I was watching a documentary the other day about life before the dinosaurs, and it's like, they cannot accrue karma. It can't be like you come along and life starts as amoebas, and all of a sudden, at some point, where does karma kick in? Where does this idea of reincarnation must be there from the beginning? So the smallest ant, the smallest amoeba or whatever, they get reincarnated. Or maybe not the amoeba, a construct. What is reincarnated? Buddhists will say an ant is reincarnated. So you kill an ant and it's like, well, it's going to be reincarnated as a human, or it's going to be reincarnated as a whale, or it's going to come back as an angel, you know, whatever. And you're like, hold on a minute. How did this start? Because none of us were sentient. It was all very base animals, and then which turned into complex animals, which you can even, some people argue whether a dog is sentient or self-aware, so it doesn't know if it's doing something wrong, or, you know, they know they're, you know. My point being is, in the scale of life on Earth, the dog is one of the latest things, and even a dog would debate, and a pig, whether they can comprehend good from bad. And they just know that they will be punished for certain things, but they don't know if they're doing something bad. They just fear the punishment. They may not understand why they're getting punished. So karma is based off your actions. Your actions are good or bad. So did karma or reincarnation, or well, not reincarnation, did karma kick off at when we reached a certain evolutionary stage? Or, you know, how does the kick-off motion start? It doesn't make any sense. It's like, the ant can't accrue karma. It's just doing its job. I'm a drone ant. I'm going around. Look at that, at least taste a bit of sugar. I'm going to eat that slug. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, because it's eating, there's it accruing karma. But at some point, we have to accrue karma. Now, one thing that somebody said to me once, which was really good, is animals don't accrue karma. They expend karma. So karmic points are expended in the animal kingdom. So you've done something really bad as a human, so you'll go back as a mosquito and get squashed. Yeah, there you are. That's your karmic death done. Next one in, try again with a human. Now, of course, this means nearly 99.9% of all spirits, reincarnated elements are in animals, because, or only there are humans. But as far as I'm aware, reincarnation includes the animals, which brings in the question, where's your cut-off point for animals between life and animal? Does fire is fire reincarnated? It is technically alive. It eats, it consumes, even though it's not sentient. That's the big problem in it. Karmic sentient existence. Fire completes all the life existences. But you get what I mean. You can be pedantic and say fire is alive, and therefore does it have a soul? Does it have karmic debt? And I don't want to be that pedantic person. What I'm trying to say is there is clearly a point where if animals can only accrue, if animals can only expend karma, or if not, how do they accrue karma? That's the question. So do animals accrue karma, yes or no? If yes, how? The ant is going along doing its business and it's like, bad ant, have another death. Or, no, they can't. They can only expend karma, which means when you're a human, you do something wrong, you go back, get maybe you're an ant for 50 times and you get murdered 50 times, you know, or you get ate by the queen or whatever 50 times, and then you come back as a human and say, have another go, you know, or and you have a crap life here until you think, hold on a minute, I better do something right here. There's a life lesson in everything. So whatever is happening to you that's bad, it's a life lesson. If you don't know what the lesson is, you've got to learn it. That's the point of karma and reincarnation. So sorry, I keep jumping between the two. So they're my issues with reincarnation. I'm not sure, guys. How could let me just, if you're still with me, let me go through. Life started very basically. At which point did people start, at which point did life form start accruing karma? And where would that point be? And why is it in that some or all Buddhist texts it says you don't come back as a single soul. There is no soul, there is no single you. So therefore, if there's no single you, how do you accrue karma? Now, I'm sure this has been debated for many years, but one thing I do find really bad about Buddhist texts that are not the words of the Buddha or said to be the words of Buddha is they're normally done by people who are not quite as good as the Buddha, and they normally seem to be done by very academic people. And I find really academic people don't quite get Buddhism. They only understand the mathematical logic behind it and the working out of the process. We have to have a balance between logic and faith, and sometimes the logic is too much. You know, when people go down the logic route too much, you lose the essence of just being good and learning life's lessons. But if you go the other way and don't really bother with the logic, you end up in a crazy place like none of it matches, like where we're at. So what do you think, guys? Do get yourself a copy of the Book of Mosquito, or get yourself a yin yang if you're still with me. Really does help the channel. Right, speak to you soon, guys.